This is a panel discussion at the Brisbane Cardano Summit Meetup 2021. We have 5 stake pool operators actually in the room talking all about stake pool operations and what it takes and what we need to do to be able to run a stake pool on the Cardano blockchain. We talk about a whole bunch of things from our little backstories all the way to some of the issues and the future of various stake pools on the Cardano ecosystem as well. The 2 operators were also from the ITN days, so they're some of the original OGs that have been working through the Cardano stake pools from very early on and working through some of the issues that were there all the way back when we were starting to create the actual network and the blockchain itself. So it was really great to have them there, but of course they're anonymous on this video. Now, if you enjoy this type of content, there is a whole lot more on our playlist for the events that is all around the Brisbane Cardano Summit. So make sure you check all of them out. All right, let's get into this panel discussion.
Is there another person in there, or invisible friend in there?
That will be it.
Right. Okay, so I guess the first question we can put towards everybody, maybe. When did you guys start the pool?
So I started my stake pool in late February, so it's only about 7 months old, not long at all.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. Maluiin Pool, that's who we're running. We started the pool, I think, in June, I think, is when we went on to the mainnet.
Hi everyone, Michael from BrisNode. We've been around since April.
We're all quite young pools. I know there's other operators in here that have been around for a lot longer.
Cool. Can you speculate as to how long they might have been around, just to get a comparison?
Any ITN guys? Yeah, okay. We got 2. Yeah, one person from ITN. So that's like literally 2. You both are, right? Great. Wow, amazing. So that was what, June last year? December 18th. Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Long time. They've been around a lot longer than us.
Right, yeah.
December 2019.
So cool, that's been engagement for a long time.
We're very late comers to the party.
Right. So the second question, again, maybe one of you guys can pick it up or everyone can answer. So what level of delegation are you at?
So we are at just under 12, but I haven't checked in many days because I haven't had time.
12 million.
7 million for us.
20,000.
Well, you got to start somewhere, right?
That's right.
Right. So again, feel free to answer everybody, right? How was the process of setting it up? Like, was it easy? Was it hard? Was there a big learning curve? How long did it take setting it up? Like, you know?
Yeah. So I've been working with AWS servers for many years. We set up like infrastructure for a lot of clients in the web industry. So we are fairly comfortable with working in Ubuntu command line and whatnot. So setting up infrastructure and setting up the pool was pretty straightforward, especially when there have been so many developers out there building the tools for us. So there's tool libraries like called CN tools and all these other scripts that so many developers have contributed to and made that process so easy. I think for myself, if some of that stuff wasn't around, it would have made it a lot harder and a lot more difficult to go through the process of setting up a pool. So it's fairly straightforward, but you do need that experience to make it easier.
For us, it was pretty easy. We had Pete helping us pretty much the whole way. So both myself and Linda, we're quite new to the computer fields at least for running servers. There's a lot of information online, so that actually was quite easy. But in terms of security and stuff like that, that was quite new to us. And Pete's been an invaluable tool for teaching us and helping us along that way. So.
I'm a business student, not a computer science person, so I did a minor in computer science, and that was pretty basic level of understanding. that gave me enough information to get the pool going. And as the guys say, there's lots of information out there for people that are looking to do it that they can pour through. And yeah, it probably took me 2 or 3 weeks to get it all happening.
Can I ask the old school boys like how it was like? Well, from what I've heard, back in the ITN days, it was extremely difficult. It wasn't easy.
Hi, my name's Daniel. I look after ADAOZ. I guess initially they brought out command by command to steps to implement the pool, but as you mentioned, there's been community tools around it that made it very easy. As far as my approach, I feel a bit more comfortable not talking about it because I think what offers the uniqueness about looking after the network is your own implementation. So I think it's great that that everyone comes up with their own implementation and looks after it, and I think that also what brings value to it. So.
That's interesting, right? Because diversity also increases resilience in an ecosystem, right? So
exactly.
Great. Because Pete mentioned AWS. So if someone wanted to start a staking pool now, right, would you recommend, or rather, would you go cloud provider or cloud vendor, or would you do it yourself, like round up with everything?
Right. So our pool is a mix. So we've got cloud providers. So we don't use AWS anymore because we found some issues with that. So we didn't like it. We use other providers at the moment, which perform much better. And we've also got a relay node that runs off a gaming PC that I decked out. It's got LED lights all over it.
Nice.
It's purely because I could get the lights and I had some money to spend on it that I turned it into relay node too. It's pretty cool.
So full RGB?
Yeah, full RGB.
It's bing every time you make a block.
That's a good idea. Maybe I should do that.
Yeah, pretty much. So, so next question is, this will be really interesting for people who are thinking about making staking pools, right? So, in your experience between the three of you guys, right? What would be the top mistake you would basically mention that someone starting new should avoid?
That's a pretty hard one. I'm guessing marketing, lack of marketing. You really need to get your pool out there. You need to be unique, and you have to give people a reason to stake to you.
There's a fair bit of work involved, and if you're not able to get stuck into it, then maybe don't get started until you are.
That's a valid point.
Mistakes. I've made many mistakes. Many technical mistakes. So in the beginning, there was one period of time when we had to move our pledge out because one of our owners needed the ADA to pay for bills, whatever, unemployed. So moved the ADA out, we changed the pledge, I moved it out in the same epoch, and what happens there is that you have to meet your pledge. And if you move your ADA out while that pledge is not met, so we decreased our pledge, moved the ADA out straight away. That takes 2 epochs to kick in. I learnt the hard way, and when that happens, you have an event that's where your pledge is not met and rewards aren't distributed. So we had a very high epoch where we produced 150% return on rewards, and we got no blocks because our pledge wasn't met. That was probably my biggest mistake. We learned the hard way. Yeah, but if you Google this and you realize what happened, there are many other people who have done this exact same thing.
So there you go. That's something for you to avoid when you start.
Yeah, that's probably a big mistake as well, is not to learn from other people's mistakes. There's plenty of information online to learn about that stuff.
So I'd imagine that the ecosystem is a lot more mature now. There'll be a lot more accounts and sources online where you can learn from, right? Like before.
For that particular issue, if you don't know what you're searching for, you won't be able to find it.
Right.
So yeah, it's even though I came across the issue, people had this issue, and it's been documented a long time ago, like many months before I had the issue. I couldn't find it because I wasn't Googling the right thing.
Right. So are there any like online communities that you'd recommend people to be a part of before starting a staking pool, so they can sort of engage with the community who's already done this and understand the challenges involved?
You've got all the contents.
I haven't had a great deal of success with delegation at this stage and haven't done much marketing, but I've found Twitter extremely useful and a few Telegram groups if you want to have a search around in there.
Any particular Telegram groups you recommend?
Yeah, so CN Tools, the setup that we use, they have a specific Telegram group to support their code, their application that they use. I can't remember what it's called. But if you look up CN Tools, you'll find the links to their Telegram group. If you manage to get it set up in their GView Live, you'll be able to see a link to their Telegram group. I cannot remember what it's called, because once you click on it, it's there in your Telegram, and you just go to it. So I can't remember what it's called, but yeah.
Cool, thank you for that. So we spoke a fair bit about like starting up, right? So on an operational basis now, what is the hardest thing that you guys experience on a day-to-day basis on an operational capacity when you're running these staking pools?
I think everyone's mentioned it already. It's marketing. It's purely marketing the pool, like getting it out there and growing it. From a technical point of view, once you get things set up and operating, monitoring the pool is fairly easy. There's so many tools out there like Grafana, Prometheus. And then, the updates come every month, every second month, and that process of upgrading now, because the older guys that have been around for ages have made that process smooth, it's just so much easier. So, for us newcomers, it's fairly straightforward. But marketing is hard. And with over 3,000 stake pools at the moment, getting yourself known out there in the community is a full-time job. So I know I do it full-time.
Yeah, pretty much. Marketing. Get involved in the community, get out there and take all opportunities that you can. Our pool, Maluiin Pool, we're with the MinSwap delegation, and there is other new projects coming online that are using community-run stake pools. So if you can, get involved with them.
Okay. So another impromptu question. Are there like Cardano influencers in this space that can help smaller stake pools?
Yeah, there are. So a lot of the older stake pools do help the smaller ones in the space. There's some with really good followings that if you get on their side, they'll help you boost up your rankings and not boost up your rankings, but try and build up your social media profile so that you can potentially get more delegates to your pool. It's quite a work. It's quite a lot of work. It's a bit of a chase. But like you'd see pools like what's it called? Deadpool. What's her name? I can't remember.
That's an awesome name.
From Deadpool. Yeah, it's a pretty cool name. Like she lucked out there. But she helps a lot of the small stake pools. So she'll help one particular stake pool, get them up to like 1 million or so, then move on to the next. So she does a lot of work around that. And there's other pool operators, I can't remember their names off the top of my head, that do exactly the same.
Cool. So it's a supportive community. You're not really on your own as such.
Yeah. Well, you got to get into
to some degree, anyway.
You've got to be contributing. It's not just a matter of like getting online and saying, "Hey, can you promote my pool?" Right. You got to be contributing to the ecosystem, the community now. So if you're wanting to start now, it's a lot harder work to build up the pool compared to if you're around. I'm assuming. When you're around the ITN days. I'm assuming it was a lot easier back then to get delegation. Was it?
Yeah, of course.
Yep, okay, yep. Good.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting more complicated.
Got a microphone?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I mean, I'll just mention, I think in the future...
A little bit closer.
Yeah, I think in the future, as the network gets used more and more, new threats will be emerging. So although it's sort of elegantly designed and wallets aren't sort of being, pulling the chain from your pool and whatnot. So the kind of resources that you're putting out there are not fully stressed. Mm-hmm. But as we go forward and it gets used more, Plus also they're bringing out layer 2 solutions and all sorts of other things. The complexity will go up. And unfortunately, look, I think at the end of the day, it is a sort of a semi-competitive environment. Although I'm a big fan of supporting pool operators, you sort of can make an argument that really it should be the most technical looking after the network. But the great thing is that with Cardano, it is designed so elegantly that you can start a pool, fairly low risk to your money, as long as you don't keep secret keys on the pool, things like that. We've heard sort of stories about that. But if you follow the guides fairly accurately, then yeah, it's pretty straightforward to participate. I think the barrier to entry, at least technically, is pretty low. Anyone can sort of participate. As you point out, it's sort of like, we've got 70% of ADAs staked. So, if you're to attract delegation, you sort of have to actually compete with other pools. It has to be a redelegation. So it can't keep going on forever. So, although that there are OGs out there that's sort of been blessed with that, I think in time, as people come out with more sort of interesting ways of attracting delegation, it will roll over. And that's the thing. It's always continuing to evolve. So, I think playing the long game, and if you've got resilience, you can do it.
Great. Thank you for that great, insightful answer as an OG. So, does anyone else have any questions on that topic? If not, I'd like to move on to the next question.
What do the big pools get out of helping the smaller pools trying to start up? Is there any cash to it, or is it just purely helping?
I have no idea if there's any financial benefit between these bigger pools that are helping the smaller ones, other than clout, I guess. That's all I know. But
yeah, there's no real financial benefit, but I think it speaks volumes of the Cardano community that you're willing to help out other people, and that is true through all of my experiences or our experiences through Cardano.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. The community aspect of Cardano is why I'm here, and the larger pools supporting the smaller ones would just make sense to a lot of us, I think.
Okay, so all those karma points are not going to go to waste either, right? One day they'll come in handy. So the last pre-decided question, really. This is along the lines of what we were talking about earlier as well, like the 1.2 million ADA requirement for minting, right? So how do you see the future of smaller staking pools? Like, where do you see the evolution there? Like, where do you see them going?
I suspect, it depends what is going to be added in terms of complexity, because I've seen ErgoDex, for example, wanting to release a decentralized solution for their DEX. So their way of dealing with concurrency and scaling their solution is to get SPOs to run part of their code for their DEX on small stake pool operators. So it will decentralize their DEX further, and the stake pool operators will work through it. So maybe small stake pool operators and more protocols and more projects will work something like that to try and boost up the ecosystem in general. So there'd be more value around it, not just through ADA. So that there is a possibility that small stake pools would survive as the ecosystem and things evolve. But if it was purely just ADA and that people were relying on for delegation, it's going to be hard. Like, there's over 3,000 stake pools. Many are shutting down like every single day. You can see them retire, and then other smaller ones starting up. It's so hard now to start up a stake pool because you need roughly 1.2, 1.3 million ADA before you start seeing blocks on a regular basis. And how much is ADA's price at the moment?
$3 something at this point, I think.
Australian dollars. 324 times 1.5 at least million. That's how much you need to put in your pool to start minting every single epoch, like guaranteed, roughly. Is the math right? Yep.
About 3, 4, 5, because you get a bad epoch every now and then.
Oh, yep. So yeah, the luck rate. If you had 100% luck rate, then yeah, you're good. But at 1.2, you get a lot of bad luck as well, and bad luck meaning you won't get any blocks assigned to you. to get a fluctuation like this. But 3.2 million, which the IOG delegation give you from Input Output Global, should get you a regular, more consistent rewards, but even then you might get 0 blocks. So,
right.
So 3.2 times 3.3 million.
Right. So, but like you would take 10 million basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not much.
That's on here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Okay. So we have a question from YouTube. Is there a limit of staking pools on the Cardano network? So,
For the upper limit, no. You can create as many as you want.
So there's a follow-up to that question, which is, if you have 10,000 ADA, is it better to spread it across 2,000 staking pools or leave it in one pool? What's the best return?
I mean, if all pools are producing blocks, I guess wouldn't make a difference. Yeah, 2 ADA. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to spread it that big and trying to maintain all of those wallets, but it's kind of encouraged to split big wallets and delegate to a few pools at least, but there's no real financial reward to that.
Just to comment on that question from YouTube, it may be worth doing that in the future when there is a possibility for multiple delegation, but at the moment you don't delegate your ADA, you delegate your wallet. Right, so to delegate to, what was it, 2,000 different stake pools, you need 2,000
wallets,
seed phrases and wallets. Yep.
Bit of work. That's unmanaged. Okay, so that's pretty much all the questions here. Like, does anyone else have questions?
Yeah, sorry. Forgive me, sorry, I'm super curious. You're talking about setting up your original pool in AWS and moving to something else with your own hybrid. What did you move to, and what specifically was wrong with AWS?
Okay, it was all right. Like I did some.
Oh, let's be brutal. Like, don't say it's all right. Like, it's all right is like what I say when I go out on a date and I'm never going on it again. You know? Like, what was wrong with it? Like, burn it.
All right. First off, I'd made some mistakes. I put a load balancer in front of my relays. You don't do that because you get charged for it. It's kind of a smart thing to do in the web world, because when you shut down an AWS server or want to spin up another instance, the IP address will change. So you put a load balancer in front of it so that you don't have to worry about that. You can put a CNAME to it and it's all fine. So, you know, load balancer thought it was great, but then when the bill comes in for the bandwidth, it's not great. So I was paying $800 a month just on bandwidth off a load balancer, not to mention all the other costs of the pool as well. So,
what were the other costs of the pool? Like, let's go into the technicals.
So, okay,
that's okay. Of course, it's not just say, hey man, piss off. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
So at that point in time, an EC2 instance with 8 gig of RAM and I think 2 or 4 CPU cores. I can't remember the price. It might be around $40 US, a little bit less. But you can reserve those instances and get them a little bit cheaper if you pay for like a year or 2 instance. So you can get it cheaper. So that's the cost there, the bandwidth cost. I think that's it in terms of cost. You think of anything else, guys? Oh yeah, you need a website as well to market your thing, but you know that's minimum cost. You can Squarespace it, even you know, something cheap. But if you're setting up servers, why would you use Spare? Yeah. What else?
So was it cost? It was cost of the AWS that like you rejected?
No, it was the input-output speed of the hard drives. It wasn't performing as fast as the new providers that I was going to. So based off recommendation from another stake pool operator, Casey Gibson, who runs ADAOZ, AOAUS, he recommended Linode and DigitalOcean, which had higher input-output speeds for their drives. Which helps because you're constantly writing to the hard drives when you're syncing in the blockchain. So higher input speeds there, output speeds there, just performs better. Yeah. So I moved.
Thank you.
Great. So one more thing to add to that, like at Amazon, we are obsessed about our customers. So I would like to put you in touch with an EC2 engineer so we can talk about it more.
Okay, sure.
Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, I know it's a piece of string question, but assuming you can meet the pledge, assuming you can manage this yourself, and assuming it's optimized, average profit margin?
Profit? I can't help with that.
Average loss.
Well, it depends on what you're running with your fees and variable fees and things like that. But otherwise, if you're a zero fee pool, it's 348 per epoch if you're minting a block. More if you're upping your margins. We're running 3%, I think it is, on our one. And yeah, around 340 to 400 is a normal epoch.
Yeah. So we're running a zero margin at the moment, because of that issue that we had previously. We're running at zero margin to get the return back from what the delegates have lost. So that's why we're at zero margin. So we only get the 340 ADA every epoch, and it works out to around like 70,000 AUD at the moment or something like that. Yeah. So it's not huge. It's profit. Yeah.
Just saying on the reason why we're running a 3% as well is also we're a mission-based pool. So the extra ADA that we're taking, we put immediately into a charity fund. So that's the reason why we're running 3%.
Cool. I was expecting someone to say $1 million. So any other questions from the audience? Don't let them get away that easy. Come on, guys.
Yeah, sorry. I have a question. Guys, this might be a stupid, dumb... look, I'm just going to ask it. So why would I run a pool with... what's the uniqueness of running it with ADA over something else? What's the reason you guys set this up?
The reason for us is just another stream of income. Passive income is king, and especially in times of Corona where people are losing their jobs, having that extra income is good.
Sorry, I mean comparatively to like another chain or another... what was the draw card for ADA?
Well, my wife is quite heavily involved in the NFT scene on Cardano, so everything that we're dealing with is in Cardano as well. And we just believe in the ecosystem, so that's the one that we wanted to run on. You can probably go deeper into the staking stuff with the other chains, but ADA for me is probably the least brutal for slashing and all those other sorts of things for bad actors.
So it was purely based on familiarity, not based on like ease of use or ease of setup or... Yeah, okay, thank you.
The equipment requirements for running a Cardano pool, as opposed to perhaps mining or something along those lines, are far cheaper.
Yeah, that's what I found. Yeah, Empower. Yeah. So in January when I was watching prices rise again, so I thought, all right, great, this is the time to get back into mining, and my ETH mining rig wasn't really profitable anymore. Price of electricity here in Australia, what do we pay? Like 20 cents or something, 27 cents per kilowatt hour.
The best I've seen is 17.
17?
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. It's just not profitable. So mining ETH for me wasn't profitable. Mining Ergo I was looking at as well. That wasn't profitable either. The best one at that point in time was Ethereum. Then I looked into setting up a Solana node. The hardware requirements for that were really high. So I thought, oh, no, that's not going to happen. Polkadot, from what I've seen, is almost impossible to get set up and running as well. You need a lot of money, or kind of like what you need now in Cardano. But back then, you still needed a lot of money to get something set up. I was looking at Cardano, and people were setting it up on Raspberry Pis for $300 per a Pi, and you can get a couple of them set up and run it from home. It's like, wow, that's really geeky and really cool. So that's the path that I went down first. So I set up cloud nodes, pretty straightforward, $40. Yeah, that's good. Bought a Raspberry Pi, set that up, pretty good too, pretty cheap. Just leave it alone and it runs. It's really cheap. So that's what attracted me to it. The barrier to entry is so low that anyone can just jump in and do it, as opposed to the other chains.
Except for the millions of ADA.
Yeah, well, now it's millions of ADA. Back in January, when I was researching, ADA was, what, 17 cents or something.
Yep.
So, yeah, it wasn't a big deal back then.
We got another question from YouTube. So what sort of spread of delegators do you see, like specifically between whales and the smaller players?
We have a couple of whales on our pool because we know them, so it kind of helps. And then almost all of the other delegates, we're about 900 delegates at the moment. They're all fairly small wallets. So they're people that have just entered the ecosystem recently, and they're not holding as much ADA as what the OGs were back in the day. So that's what we're seeing coming to our pool. So it's new people coming into the ecosystem. Same.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, like anyone that's delegating to pool, and you look at pool.pm, and you see a whale picture next to their wallet, they're a whale. What's the number? I don't know. It's at least 1 million? I think so. Yeah, at least 1 million.
Right.
And you get a beluga whale. You don't get a blue whale yet, or a killer shark. It's a small whale. A small whale is 1 million.
Cool. Any other questions?
Question mainly probably to Michael more than Pete. Pete, you seem reasonably successful running a pool. But Michael, your early stages as such, would you do it again? Would you go through the process to set up?
I probably would. I'd probably just take it slower, actually, to be honest, because I sort of got it all set up and was delegators sending me emails and stuff before I was confident with everything that I was doing. I'm a bit of a Cardano tragic. I'm not huge on all sorts of cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. It really speaks to me what the values of IOHK and the whole Cardano thing are. So I'm happy to be involved at this stage. But I'd like to make it a profitable thing in future. But yeah, at this stage, I'm just coming along for the ride.
I think we had one more question there.
What's the benefit of having a producer node on like a web service rather than bare metal, or is it? I guess what are the benefits of bare metal versus the cloud service?
For us, we're all cloud server, and basically we were moving around quite a lot, so it was easy for us to move and shift houses and things like that. I like the security that comes with the cloud service. Can't really speak for bare metal looking at it, but haven't gone down that path yet.
What about the guys that back? Are you bare metal or cloud-based? Or rather not say?
Whatever I need to do at any moment.
Okay, good answer. Whatever it needs to be. Yep.
You just be adaptive.
Yep, adaptive. Cool. For me, I prefer the cloud servers because of downtimes on my internet connection, the bandwidth that's used on my home internet, power outages. I live in an apartment. The power does go out every once in a while because someone blew something ridiculous, and internet dropouts. So my preference is cloud, but I do have a relay node at home, which is one of many relay nodes. So if it goes down for a couple of hours, it's okay. It's not end of the world, but yeah, the other relays can take over. What's your setup, Michael?
I have a mixture. I've got relays on the cloud and some nodes at home. I've got redundant power supplies and backup internet connections and all sorts of things, and I'd like to. We've got solar at the house, and we'd like to look at what other sort of power storage we can look at. I don't know. I err on the side of having your own servers that you're looking after, but I was running a relay sort of in another part of the world, which may help with getting with sort of spreading the network out. But yeah, I don't know. My idea is have it all set up at home with lots of redundancies, but I do use some cloud services for extra capabilities.
Cool. So I got a question. If a cloud service was to be very Cardano stake pool friendly, what would be the top thing that you would recommend they do?
Make it cheaper.
Yeah, essentially that, I guess. Cheaper and reliable. Reliability is probably the biggest thing.
Pete?
I don't know. I don't know, actually, because, you know, if you're obviously trying to convince me to go back to AWS. Yeah, like, you know, the SSDs that are available on some other...
High IOPS, right?
Yeah, the high IOPS. That's, you know, just a benchmarking thing. I know other people run on AWS and it's totally fine. It's just that, you know, I didn't like it.
We can always do better.
Yeah.
And another question, kind of along the same lines, like when you guys were talking bare metal, right? So do you see, is there an actual advantage for running bare metal versus virtualized? Like, you know, because a lot of cloud providers do provide bare metal as well. So is there an advantage to running with a cloud provider? Is there an advantage to running a bare metal instance versus a virtualized instance?
For a stake pool, I have absolutely no idea if there's any advantage other than, you know, kind of decentralizing your infrastructure and you know, making things redundant. It's like any time one of the cloud providers might turn around and say, "Oh, we don't like cryptocurrency nodes running on our environment," and completely take you out and just shut you down in, you know, an instance. So that could happen. So, you know, having your own infrastructure like what Michael has gives you the full control. So you're not subject to that kind of thing. So it might happen. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, I have a question. Given the importance of cloud services, are there any projects on the horizon, maybe on Cardano's network or on others, of decentralized cloud service networks?
Not that I know of.
Something to be looking at. Yeah, a cache on Cosmos.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry. As a passive yield system, to have a device that will acts as a cloud server for individuals.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it, but that sounds interesting.
I'm participating in a cache myself, and they offer AWS services that have a tenth of the price of what Amazon and Google are requiring.
What's the catch?
You'd have to go deeper than that myself, sorry.
Well, I'll question that later in private because AWS has like 200 services, so I don't really see how Akash could provide that. But, you know.
That's the one, the ticker symbols AKT or ATK or something?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about starting your own stake pool or just want to give it a go or start up a relay or something to try and support the network, you can, and there are plenty of guides out there. I'll post a link to the CN tools, which is a very common way of setting up a stake pool and a relay as well. So you can give that a go. Tell us what you think and leave a comment down below if you have any questions for some of the stake pool operators that were appearing in the video. I'll get them to answer some of your questions there. Now, if you really like this video, make sure you check out the rest of the videos. There's a link to it in the top right-hand corner for a playlist for all of our other videos from this Cardano Meetup event. There are also a lot of other Brisbane-based meetups that are coming up as well, so please make sure you check them out on meetup.com. You'll find a meetup in the Cardano ecosystem somewhere close to you. All right, till next time.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.